Thank you for staying with us. We continue here. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has been nominated as the Democratic Party's presidential nominee. She will now face Republican candidate and former U.S. President Donald Trump in November's polls. Vukulu Maphindani is an activist based in the U.S. and joins us now via a video link. A pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon, Vukulu. Now, Kamala Harris has secured the Democratic nomination with no major challenges. How significant is this moment for the Democrats' party, and what does it signify about her political journey?
Oh, yes. I believe that it's all thanks to Biden's lack of performance on the presidential candidate with Donald Trump, because he was failing to answer very basic questions on social life, the economy, the military, and the internationalist policy of the U.S. on that very debate. And that raised, suspicion from the Democratic Party that Donald Trump will have just had an easy ride for that. So for me, with regards to Kamala Harris, she's been a woman who has been breaking records. For example, one of the most significant part of her political or legal career is the fact that she became the very first African-American woman and South Asian descent, rather, in California to become a state attorney general, presiding over about 39 million people in California, which is the fifth biggest economy in the planet and the biggest economy in the United States. So her becoming the first vice president as well, she broke another record, being the very first black woman, African-American and South Asian to become the vice president.
I want to explore that thought even further, Vukulu. With Kamala Harris being, as you mentioned, the first black and South Asian woman to secure a major party's nomination, what impact do you believe her candidacy will have on American politics, but also the issue of representation?
I believe that the Democratic Party, being the very biggest movement in the planet, the Republican is actually part of the breakaway from the Democratic Party. So one of their policy of government, overarching ideology, is the fact that they believe in affirmative action. And then now, her being a woman of color from a minority, it actually have cast them outside of the doubt that most Democratic voters were having after the debate. So it gives them a more nucleus standing ground to actually have a vibrant candidate. I think she's vibrant. In terms of the American politics, she's a very perfect candidate. It speaks to the Democratic very character as a movement. But I do, of course, have a problem with her own internationalist ideology, because the remarks she made about the war in Ukraine, to the fact that they are not willing to withdraw support for Ukraine and resolve the conflict, and also, what happened when she visited African countries, imposing the LGBTQ community's idea to African constituencies. I feel like that may be a problem, but for the American life and social life, I think she's a very good candidate at this point.
So in her most recent remarks, Kamala Harris did say that she will hit the campaign trail running. Let's get an assessment of her strategy so far, particularly her focus on battleground states in the U.S., but also this diverse demographic group she's targeting.
Yeah, I think she has a greater potential, especially that after the presidential debate with Biden, there was also an issue whereby, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, where Trump almost got assassinated. Some people, of course, believe that it was a planned stunt to get people's sympathy. But at the same time, he endorsed his running candidate from Ohio, because that's the state he knows that he needs, because not going to get any support from New York or California. So now the vice president himself has made very uncomfortable remarks about the people with childless, married couples with childless marriages and all of those things. So now Trump having also made comments, anti-Semitic comments against the Jews, that if they vote the Democratic Party, then they are fools. So there comes a woman of color, a minority, with a vibrant campaign right now. And she broke another record because on her first day, she raised more than $80 million US, which in American history, that is actually the record, is record breaking. And then on top of that, she's married to a Jewish man. She's from a minority grouping. And Capital believes in her because last month alone, she raised $301 million US on her campaign. Twice that of Donald Trump.
Yeah. Vukulu, I also want to get a sense of the general feeling on the street from what you've gathered, and also given the recent withdrawal of President Joe Biden and his endorsement of Kamala Harris. How do you think this transition will affect the overall Democratic campaign, but also voter sentiment within that country?
Yeah. To be honest with you, Kamala Harris is winning because everybody is actually happy. We didn't expect this overturn of events. And her being a woman of color, of course, Donald Trump, as he is, normally makes comments about her race that, another time she was saying she's Indian, now she says she's black. But of course, here, the race classification in the US, she's a black woman because majority of the people will be in what in South Africa you call a colored population. And then they identify as black, So the people on the ground are very happy for the Kamala Harris. She actually changed the entire complexion of the campaign. Because honestly speaking, if it was Joe Biden, Trump would have just had an upright majority. Even if Trump does not acknowledge it, she has got a legal personality and a legal background. And then he himself having 32 counts of felony charges. It's problematic for him. That's why recently there was an invite from ABC News for a debate with Trump and Harris. He rejected that because he wants to be in an audience that is organized by Fox News. And then, over time, Fox News have been pro-Republican. So now the people can see this from a distance. So on my side, I believe that with Kamala Harris have changed the complexion, and there's a possibility of her becoming the very first woman president in the United States.
It's very interesting you say that, Vukulu, because some other people will argue otherwise and say, come November, this will be a walk in the park for Donald Trump, and also given recent developments. But what challenges do you foresee for Kamala Harris as she moves forward with her campaign, especially considering the current political climate in that country and also a competition with Donald Trump?
Of course, Trump do have a very economic background, born from a family where there were real estate. He made his name, became a reality star movie, and all of those things. It's about Trump. At first, of course, in his first presidential campaign, he was running against Hillary Clinton. So most people have said, it's another Bill Clinton, So now they didn't know how he was going to perform as a president. But as a president, you have seen him centralizing power. And that's what business in the United States don't want. They want it to continue to become a free market economic system. And then you have got a lot of people on the ground saying that, well, there's what you call Project 25. Donald Trump is planning to change the constitution in order to remain in power permanently. And then you've seen their reaction when Biden won. They felt that the votes were rigged and there was an attack at the Capitol. So I don't think it will be an easy walk in the park, but I also understand from his position, you are running for presidency, so you always need to neutralize your opponent. But Kamala Harris is very clean. She studied political science and economics, graduated from a historically black university, Howard University in 1986, have studied law, and have presided over a biggest economy in the U.S. in California, with 39 million people there. And the support that she's getting right now is very fundamental. So I don't think it will be an easy walk in the park. Of course, he has to say that in order to affirm his supporters that he's still got it.
But how important is the selection of Harris's running mate? And what qualities should the Democratic Party be looking for in this choice to really strengthen their ticket for these elections?
I believe that just like Kamala Harris have actually, like I said, brought a new complexion as the candidate for the Democratic Party. So you need someone who also have got a vast experience, because she's supposed to select this weekend the finalists in order to, I mean, if she can get someone from the minority or from the Jewish community, it will even stabilize the campaign because capital believes in her. It's also very important because right now, the vice president of Donald Trump, it's someone who was a critique of Donald Trump. So the arrangement for him becoming a vice president or a running mate for Trump, it is actually has nothing to do with them believing in the Republican Party or believing in each other. They don't really like each other, but it's just business as usual, you know. So if she can actually strategize on getting someone with a credible background like she does, because as it is, she's very clean. The only weakness that she may have is because, I mean, the Democratic Party believes in multilateralism and unilateralism, but at the same time, the international policy is just clean. Those things, if she can work on them and neutralize Donald Trump, because, of course, I'm sure that if she becomes president, Donald Trump is still going to face a lot of legal battles going forward.
And as you mentioned, Kamala Harris is expected to make her first public appearance with her running mate soon. What impact do you anticipate this will have, especially on her campaign's momentum, but also the public perception around, of course, their campaign?
I believe that because right now, the greatest strength she has is that she has a very clean background and she's well experienced. But now the turn of events may happen if tomorrow, where she's expected to announce her running mate, now that will be Donald Trump's very ticket to look into who is this person that they're electing. Because right now it will be a little bit difficult for you to be able to neutralize Kamala Harris. Because, I mean, she's actually what the Democratic Party is about. Affirmative action, her own self. And they believe in, you know, easing out on immigration laws and also promoting social life, your food stamps, your social welfare. And then you have someone who have been, as a minority, even Donald Trump have already made uncomfortable remarks about racial profile. They already racially profiled her already. So right now his ticket will be in whoever he chooses. It can actually change the entire complexion again. But if she actually makes sure that she chooses somebody with a proper background, they'll run a clean campaign, and I'm sure and hoping that in November she can win.
It's really fascinating. But before I let you go, the Democratic Party has also chosen a virtual nomination process due to logistical constraints from what we've heard. How do you think this decision affects the party's engagement with its base, but also the broader public in the U.S.?
No, that's very beautiful because they did not expect Joe Biden to withdraw. And like you're saying, there must be certain processes that need to take place. For someone to be a candidate in certain states, they need to have at least a 90-day period prior to the election. So now that had to happen. But the way I'm seeing it, I don't think, yes, of course, there was supposed to be an open democratic process for them to have an engagement between all the participants in there. But the fact that Joe Biden ran unopposed and he endorsed Kamala Harris, there you've got a former president of the Democratic Party, Barack Obama, endorsing her. So for the safety and the livelihood of the Democratic Party, I do believe, well, if I become a devil's advocate, that, you know, she's saving them. The embarrassment that they endured during that particular presidential debate. And because there was a lot of halabaloo around Joe Biden's mental state, some people are actually saying maybe he has ADHD and all of those things, because sometimes there's memory loss and all of that. So someone who's vibrant, who's there, she's alive, she's warm. So yes, I understand that maybe there could have been a more democratic process, but they don't have that time and that kind of privilege.
They don't have that time and that kind of privilege. Thank you so much, Vukulu Maphindani, for sharing your insights into Kamala Harris's historic nomination, but also the implications for the upcoming presidential elections. He's been giving us his perspective on that.